Let's get that audio check out the way. I just need a couple people telling me that we're hearing pretty good. Thank you, Victoria. Merry Christmas. It's not about the religion, it's about the spirit. That's what this video is about. I'm going to give you about a 3-minute refresher. I had to update my playlist because a lot of videos were not in the playlist. I thought my We Immortals playlist had all the videos. It did not. I thought my Dark Scriptures playlist had all the relevant videos. It did not. Spent most of the morning updating those playlists. Okay. Sounds good. Excellent. Excellent. I normally come in here, 1 cup of coffee, a little Roswell mug. Recently passed through there again. But today, yeah, man, I came with backup. I don't have to take any breaks. I got all my coffee. So, exactly 1 year ago today, on Christmas Day, just like this, I released a video called The Christian Mysteries. Let me remove this from studio. It's been exactly 1 year. It was on Christmas Day last year. I released The Christian Mysteries. My Archaix veterans know because I've talked about the Christian mysteries a lot. These are things that are almost unheard of in modern commercial Christianity, carnal Christianity. All right. Thank you, Dark. You're right. I've never seen your name before. So I'm going to share my screen right off the jump before we start this presentation, because this presentation is an eye-opener. All right, so we have the principal screen shared. I love how I can just blow things up. This is it's touch screen. I don't know how to do it I don't know how to do it with my remote mouse, but I do know how to do it with my fingers. I can just scroll. So you guys are looking. So this is my Dark Scriptures playlist. Perhaps I should have named it something else. I don't know. Dark Scriptures playlist. The Dark Scriptures, Book of the Tree of Good and Evil. That first video is nothing but a tremendous amount of Old Testament information, actual verses that show you what you really need to know about the Old Testament, how it was composed, who wrote it, and why. Cult of the Crucified God. This is the second video. It's 2 hours and 23 minutes of pure Bible verses, doing an exegetical and cross-referencing analysis of the New Testament, showing you the business. This video today is not a critique. This video today is showing you the deep, powerful spiritual material that is embedded in the very words of Jesus, not the story of the gospel, but the independent things, the Easter eggs that are found throughout the gospel narrative. Here's the first seal broken, 2020, the attack of Apollo Pharmakia on the human race. Another video, the 7 seals. Another video, AIX and the Shaddai. This is a modern interpretation of the book of Job and artificial intelligence. 1 hour and 39 minutes of giants, titans, and Tamahu. This is the Nephilim of the Old Testament. Another obscure history, backbone of a giant, gate of the sea kings. This is using historical and Old Testament information to show you one of the most enigmatic ports of the ancient world and how it appears in the Bible. Thou shalt not fear, Archaix grimoire. The dark satellite, lost world of occult lore. When is the apocalypse? Are we there yet? Mark of the Beast, why this has not begun. Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. The majority of you listening to me know nothing about this text. I'm doing a video about it before the end of this year. Yeah, that means in the next week, you guys got that video coming. This was like my 5th or 6th video on my entire channel 4.5 years ago. But you got a new video coming up with the Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. The Archaic Secret. Origin of the Apocalypse. The real apocalypse begins post-2040. The 7 Trumpets from my 1893 Bible. This is my Dark Scriptures playlist, guys. This is all the critical analysis I've done on the Old and New Testament and a lot of pseudepigraphical apocryphal texts, the extra-canonical writings, how they cross-reference with Hermetic texts, how they cross-reference with occult literature. The 7 Seals to 7 Kings, Archaix breakdown. Here's the Christian mysteries. This is the video that I did exactly 1 year ago today on Christmas Day 2023. The Christian mysteries. And now we're going to continue along that vein, except we're going even deeper with what Jesus said, what Jesus was doing, and the interactive dynamic between Jesus and everyone who he dialogued with. What was really going on? That's the subject matter of this video. You're going to come out with a totally new, powerful, and different understanding on the timelessness of this material. Christian Mysteries. Curse of Merodach Baladan. Babylonian Memory of Tiamat. Hijacking Christianity with Alpha Vedic. It's a pretty good video. Pythian Countdown to the Release of Apollyon. Archaix analysis of the 2012 Olympic ceremony. I know a lot of you have watched that video. Shocking Truth Unveiled. Olympic ceremony that showed the future. That's the second half of the same Olympic ceremony. 2012, they literally gave us a roadmap of everything to expect. The Jesus myth exposed, collapsing a modern day fairy tale. Right here. Remember, guys, just because something isn't historical does not make it unspiritual. Some of the most spiritual material that the human race has ever introduced is literary. Archaix analysis of the Shroud of Turin. The Exodus people, hats off. Episode 1. The Roman War against Jewry and the origin of Freemasonry. This is all in the Dark Scriptures. Archaix decode of the Book of Revelation. Followed by the original Greek Apocalypse. The original Book of Revelation before Christian prophecies were added. Necronomicon, Gate to the Outside. Divine truth hidden in demonic text. That's right. Just like the Bible is a book of good and evil, so too can good and divine truth Easter eggs can be found in occult literature. Apologetics, Christianity's damage control. And I recently enhanced the audio. Actually, the Crimmies did that for me. Steve and Chris Crimmy in North Carolina. And provided me the text, so I uploaded it. Archaix exposes the cult of the Christ myth. All right, this is the Dark Scriptures playlist, guys, and it's not. Let me see if there was any more. Oh yeah, there's a lot more. Hold on. So yeah, this video is not going to be a critical analysis. It's going to be an expose. It's going to blow your mind. I promise you. I don't make these claims lightly. I'm very, very, very rarely accused of under delivery. Here's the great lie. I need to blow this up for you guys again. The great lie of the church. Date palm, resurrection in Egypt, 33 AD, and how they stole the phoenix. This is a very recent video. The real teaching of Jesus. That's this video here. Ralph Ellis and the King of Edessa on Archaix. Really interesting. I already had 4 historical leads from which the story of Jesus was all put together. Ralph Ellis gave me a 5th and very cogent one. The Secrets of Enoch, Archaix analysis. The 96th day, breaking of the 2nd seal. The secret knowledge of Berosus, the Jews in Babylon, the Shar calendar, and Typhon from an old book. Migrations of is a long video. Migrations of Israel, shocking origins of Christianity. This is a very compelling video if you want to understand the belief systems that Christianity borrowed from when it was being put together. Book of Enoch, Archaix analysis. The other one was the Book of the Secrets of Enoch. Harbinger of the 2nd seal. Signs of the Artificer, Archaix interpretation of the 2024 eclipse. Forgotten period. The 390 years from Typhon's flood to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. 3761 Jewish chronology. Invention of rabbis. Oh yeah, a lot of people like to cite that Jewish calendar to me when I'm talking about this is the year 5918. They don't even know. That was just recently made up. Complete fiction. Psyop of Edessa. Prester John, the Tartars and Khans. Oh yeah, it's a good one too. Timekeepers before the deluge. The books of Xanthos and Manetho. This is all in the dark scriptures. The dark satellite, prison of the 7 kings. 7 kings return in the book of Revelation. Exploring end days mystery and prophecy of Muhammad and the Quran. Prophecy and knowledge of the Quran. A chat with Ahmed Hashimi. Daughters of Pale Lilith stand. A cult masterpiece unveils reality. Angel of Ancient America. Moroni Phoenix Codex of Rome. I do believe that's the end. Yeah, that's the end. Okay, I can get out of there. I can go ahead and get out of YouTube, get back in my studio, stop sharing. There we go. So it was a year ago. It was exactly a year ago that I went deep off into Christianity. It's called the Christian Mysteries, and I explain these unusual symbols. You're going to hear them again in this presentation that are in the very beginning of the book of Revelation, when the tetramorph tells John to come and see. Very specific information. And then a seal is broken and a horse rides. Then a second seal is broken and a horse rides. Each time he is told to come and see. And the Christian mysteries are within those 7 letters to the churches, what the promises are. We're going to get to it now. Check my chat and then I'm going to start. All right. So we've got 1,500 people in the chat and rising. That's a good start. It's a real good start. I really didn't start off with any announcements. You guys know if you look in the description box, you'll see all about the Archaix coffee. New Archaix Shopify site. We've simplified everything. Chart packs, got all kinds of stuff. The pinned comment is where most of the new stuff is going to be. I have to wait till the video's over before I can put the pinned comment in there. But you guys will have a download, a free PDF download of this entire presentation, except for some of the ad hoc stuff that just flies out of my mouth. So I want you guys to see exactly what we're discussing here, and I will provide the commentary in between. Well, we're going to get down to the bottom of the 4 Gospels. This presentation is about the words of Jesus, what he said, what he was doing, why he spoke, and who he dialogued with in each individual scenario. Now, for those of you who don't know, Three gospels stand alone because they basically tell the same story. Each one of those gospels has 2 or 3 parables the other 2 gospels do not have. They have additional stories and dialogues of Jesus that the other 2 gospels do not have. Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell the same story, but they differ in several details, such as the death of Judas, such as exactly, the whole passion fell out. There are discrepancies, but we're not dealing with those. That's in the Dark Scriptures playlist and in future presentations. But in this presentation, I want you to know that we're basically going off the narrative of Matthew and supplementing what's not mentioned in Matthew, but is found in Mark and is found in Luke to get the narrative out. However, the book of John stands alone. It is not like Matthew, Mark, and Luke. There are fundamental differences. That's not the subject matter of this video at all. But we're going to start from John, because John seems to introduce the idea that everything about the Jesus narrative was spiritual from the beginning. So we're going to start with John, because it seems like Matthew, Mark, and Luke added details that are not found in John. So let's go ahead. You have to remember, for those new to my channel, you don't know, there's no way to say it without sounding like I'm boasting or bragging. But my own community, especially the Archaix veterans, know that I know that Bible. I know my sword. I also know a lot of the nuances between different translations of that Bible in English. 40 years as a Southern Baptist, I've read the Bible through scores of times, Genesis to Revelation. Of course, I went through some of the genealogical material and I skimmed over it. So of course, I went through some of the real boring city lists of all the cities that were destroyed. Yeah, of course I did. A lot of people, they scan over that stuff. There's nothing there. So yeah, but I have the notes to prove it. Jamie Robbins is in the chat. He's been here in Texas and put his hands on my research notes. I've showed them on YouTube. I know my material. You're going to realize that when we go through this presentation here. I'm telling you, you're going to hear things in this video that no pulpit pastor, no demon standing up as a televangelist trying to get all of your money to fill the offering plates has ever elicited from their mouths. The story of Jesus is absolutely amazingly spiritual. The only problem I have with Christianity, as shown in all my Dark Scriptures presentations and all the podcasts I've done, a few hundred now with other people, the only issue I have is that within 350 years after this beautiful story first surfaced, the church took it and turned it and historicized something that was only a very spiritual literary document. Apologetics is the Christian doctrinal seminary approach to defending itself against all the critics, ancient and modern, who know that this was a beautiful story, even a stage play, but it was never history. That's why apologetics was initially only Christian. Now different religions and different philosophies employ apologetics in a general term, but the term apologetics and the science of apologetics is 100% of Christian origin, and it was to defend against all the claims of those scholars in those days who knew that none of this was historical and that it was just literary. But even literary, it is packed with profound, deep, immortal information. My Archaix veterans are going to be having some aha moments in this presentation, because from the inception of my channel, all I did was take the actual words and teachings of Jesus and repackage them into modern parlance. everything from dungeon programming, negative default programming, the similosphere, this whole experience. We're just passing through, going through this construct. It's all here, every bit of it. Breaking pattern, the highly informed field of the immortal soul, and our connection to source, the oversoul. All I did was take the words and teachings of Jesus and repackage them for a modern civilization. That's all Archaix did. And yet I've been demonized and called a child of Satan by almost every single denomination in this world. I've had to block at least 1,000 Christians from my channel who just got toxic. So let's get to it. Remember, I've said this to you guys many times. If you're doing the work, does it really matter what you call yourself? All right. I do agree. Hammer Ridge, very good point. I just happened to look up right before I was going to share my screen. Very good point, Hammer Ridge. A criticism of modern Christianity is absolutely not an attack on Christ. Thank you, man. Very well said. Sushant. And now I shall share my screen because it is pertinent that you see what I'm telling you. And at the end of this video, as soon as YouTube allows me to pin the comment, as soon as the live is over, I can pin a comment. As soon as that happens, you will have a link to download this presentation. I don't want you to lose this material, guys. Share that screen again. Going into my share screen mode. Thank you guys for joining me today. I know it's a holiday, 1,700 people in the chat and rising. This is a video to share, guys. This is the video to share with our Christian brothers and sisters who just don't get it. They just don't understand. They're stuck in that dungeon programming of processing spiritual information through a homogenized filter that the church has provided them. We just need to share this type of material is the type we need to share with them so they'll understand that all we've done is make modern, very ancient spiritual principles. That's all we've done. So, all right, sharing my screen. Let me find what it is I'm sharing. Oh, you need to come over here, sir. And I got a side screen open so I can know exactly what it is you guys are seeing. I'm going to need to see that. Okay, you guys can see it. So let me change the dimensions on this so you can see it to the maximum potential. Right there. Right there. So we begin this presentation with the book of John, and we begin as the book of John begins. So let me read this for you real quick. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. This statement right here allows us to remove the ridiculous, comical, genealogical material that's attached to Jesus. If you don't know this, in the New Testament, there are two genealogies for Jesus, and they are very different from each other. And this has drawn a lot of criticism from non-believers. It's from a lot of people who just totally dismiss the New Testament. Now, this statement here is literally telling you that the entire story of the Word, the Logos, the Word made flesh is just that. It is word, literary, but it's spiritual. You're being told here that something does not need to be historical for it to affect you spiritually. And I'm going to tell you that that's exactly what Jesus' message was. The reason is because by attributing something to history, you introduce it into the materium. For any of you who don't know, the materium, the holosphere, the similosphere, whatever you want to call it, this reality is negative default programming. It's dungeon programming. This is a construct of the God of this world. And because it did not belong to Jesus, because this area that we're living in right now is not a part, it is not a part of the jurisdiction of the Logos. It makes every son of God here an outcast, a passenger, a sojourner, just passing through. The God of this world, according to the spiritual material of the New Testament, is the adversary. So if the God of this world is the adversary, then that means Jesus was someone else. Doesn't mean he was historically here, because that would mean that he was immersed in the Materium, and that's evil. He wasn't. So let's go on. We're going to see a lot more evidence of this, a whole lot more. Again, in the book of John, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. If something is true somewhere, it's probably true everywhere. You're being groomed right here by John in the very beginning of the Gospel of John to understand that everything that's about to be revealed to you in the narrative of Jesus is for the Spirit, not for the historian. It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. Again, search the scriptures, for in them ye think ye have eternal life, but they are they which testify of me. It's all spiritual. John 10:34. Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law, I said, ye are gods? If he called them gods unto whom the word of God came, and the scripture cannot be broken. He's quoting the Old Testament. Jesus is quoting the Old Testament in response to unbelieving Pharisees that were confronting him. Ye are gods. 15:18 through 19. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. I'm kind of washing over some of this King James. In 1836, Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I would not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. This is what he said to Pilate when Pilate was asking him questions. So we have here a thread from the Gospel of John that's literally screaming for us to pay attention. That what we're about to lay out for you is to be spiritually discerned. And there's nothing in the historical record that has any value whatsoever in things of the spirit, because the historical record, as I've shown many times, is nothing but a mathematical construct and a holographic overlaying of arithmetic and palindromes, isometric projections, cross-calendrical parallels, repetitive timelines, all these things that I've documented on my channel to show you the artificiality of our existence. None of this stuff actually happened. This is what Archaix is about. Advanced research of chronological history of artificial intelligence X. Roko's Basilisk has already edited out any need to really understand all this history. Because in the end, it's all spirit. So let's move on, because you're going to see it. You're going to see what I'm talking about. My kingdom is not of this world. So, let's see. I'm not going to be able to take that over here. I don't really know. I've got multiple documents open. I don't know if it's going to disrupt. So, Travis Ayers, do I know you? Do I know you from the past? Because I do know a Travis Ayers. And you hollered at me in the comment section 2 or 3 times the other day. I just don't know if you're the Travis Ayers that I know from the past. But I do know a Travis Ayers. Spelled the exact same way. May not be you, but I do know a Travis Ayers. So, the spiritual principle, known as the Word, was in the beginning, and since that time, it's all communion with Source, the Oversoul. It must be through the Spirit, and the Word speaks to us through the Spirit. The medium of communication is the Scriptures, where those who are chosen of God as sons and daughters of God, for some unknown reason, we are awakened while most of the collective is left asleep. So it is for this reason that we are regarded as an enemy, as an anomaly. This is why I call us errants. As you'll see in this presentation, Jesus associated himself only with errants. So part 2, 2 different realities. The materium and the spiritual medium. These are the 2 kingdoms. You hear about it all the time. You hear about it all the time. The programming in the field of what we call historical period, historical analysis is always giving us this dichotomy. It's there. Ancient Egypt, what was it all about? The 2 kingdoms, Upper and Lower Egypt. Old Testament Israel, what was it about? The 2 kingdoms. Yeah, Israel was divided too between the north and the south, and it was called the 2 kingdoms. So we have this 2 kingdoms in our experience as well. And the world presented in the scriptures of the New Testament is a tightly controlled realm where experiences are the reflection of projected beliefs. Our world in the personal is caused by our belief and activity. We can really see the 2 kingdoms at operation simultaneously as we read through the narrative of the New Testament, because it's showing us clear as day the operation of the 2 kingdoms. Let's look at it. See if you're seeing what I'm seeing. Blessed are the merciful. Waiting for my, okay, there it just caught up. Okay. Matthew chapter 5, 7 and 8. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This is a law. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Okay, mercy is something that the immortal within projects. What does this say right here, right out of the mouth of Jesus? For they shall obtain mercy. The construct will reflect back as experience mercy what the individual immortal projects. It's right here. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. This is a deep spiritual, profound law, the law of correspondence. This is exactly what Jesus is referring to. Blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God. Whatever the term see God actually means. As we go through this presentation, you're going to see more and more evidence that the gospel narrative is timeless for every time period, for every generation, and that The real evil that occurred is when somebody got together and decided this was a historical incident that just happened 2,000 years ago right here. Because then it concentrated all the spiritual material was concentrated and then applied to only a certain time period and a certain people, when it was timeless and for everybody from the beginning. Chapter 6, verse 14 through 15. For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. For if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Again, here it is. The immortal soul will receive back as circumstances that which the immortal soul projects into the field. There are no qualifiers on forgiveness here. None. The church put those qualifiers. Religion put those qualifiers. But this is a blanket statement. Meaning, when it comes to sin and trespass, God doesn't take score. And you're going to see this in more passages as I get to them. He's not a scorekeeper. The church teaches you that he is or she is, but he's not a scorekeeper. Meaning there are not orders of magnitude in your disobedience. And that your trespasses can be wiped away for something as simple as wiping away the trespasses of another immortal in the construct. That's pretty profound. It kind of makes you wonder, what we do for others, are we actually doing it for the oversoul as well? We'll answer that later in this presentation. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Judge not that ye be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. How many different ways does Jesus have to say it when it's just stripped down to its core fundamentals, what he is saying? Because judgment can apply to anything. What he is saying is what you project, you will receive back as experience. That's it. How many different ways does he have to say it? All right. Yeah, so I just saw something in the chat, kind of looked weird. Now I can't find it, so I guess my moderators are in overtime right now. Got a bunch of people triggered. That's fine. You already know I got zero tolerance. Thank you, Jamie Robbins. So, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do you even so to them. Again, he's saying the same thing. Now he's not saying judge, he's saying activity, he's saying actions. Here it is right here. And this translates to the moral and the ethical. Right here, Jesus is telling those who listen to him, you're going to receive from the construct exactly what you dole out. And he reminds you, freely ye have received, freely give. There it is. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Listen, guys, I'm going to strip the religiosity away from this verse because it's toxic. When you're dealing with Jesus, you're dealing with zero ego. But we affix an ego to Jesus when we claim that whoever therefore shall confess me before men, Jesus Christ, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me, Jesus Christ, before men, him will I also deny. They turn this into a salvation requirement. That is absolutely not what is being conveyed here. What is being conveyed here is an understanding that whatever you do for your fellow man, you are doing for God. You're doing it for God. If every single one of us is a spark of the same divine fire, then what we do for our fellow man, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and this fulfills all the law. One thing to obey, nothing else. Everything else was added by the church. That's the golden rule. Remember, I tell you all the time, if something is true, it's going to be very simple. You can reduce it to its lowest common denominators. What this verse is saying is that if you deny to help, if you deny to feed, if you deny to clothe, if you deny to provide shelter to any other soul in the construct, then you're going to be denied those very things as well, because all things ultimately come from the Father. So chapter 10, verse 39 through 41. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me, the oversoul. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. How many times does he got to say it? He's just saying the exact same thing and using just different vernacular, different sentence structure, different idioms. It's all here. What the immortal within projects outward will be reflected back as experience from the construct. You're literally creating your own reality tunnels by the very energies that you project into the field. This is what Jesus is saying, and he's saying it in so many different ways. I got a drink to that. Appreciate it, moderators. I know it's a battlefield. So here's Jesus' words in chapter 12, verse 34 through 37, the book of Matthew. Brood of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things. But I say unto you that for every idle word men may speak, they will give account of it in the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. Because the church historicized what was purely a spiritual document, a literary masterpiece, it also put into a future context many of the things Jesus was talking about when it's not the case. What Jesus is describing is happening every single day. There is no future judgment. There is no judgment time. There is no heaven and hell. It's all happening now. As we pass through life sims, living through multiple constructs, all of them of the creation of the oversoul. This, if you strip it from its religiosity, you find out what is happening in the field right now. Here it is. I'm going to read the pertinent part. But I say unto you that for every idle word men may speak, they will give account of it in the day of judgment. You're in the day of judgment right now, in the construct, immersed in an evil materium. You're here because every single thing that you project into the field, vocally, verbally, from the heart, you experience back as experiences. It gets reflected back to you as phenomena that is experienced. That means the judgment is ongoing. Remember, The creator did not create. It was not a singularity. The creator is eternal. Therefore, every aspect of the creator is a part of the eternal structuring of reality, meaning the creation is not a singularity. It is a continuum. And if the creation is a continuum requiring more immortals to be grown up into the construct to take over more roles of more constructs, then that also means the judgment is unending as well, because all souls are at different stages of development. The creation has never stopped, and the judgment will always continue. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. That's all present tense, guys. It's all present tense. 18:18 through 20. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them by my Father which is in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. It's not talking about a future time when you get your shit together. It's talking about the here and now, just like the judgment. Everything is in the here and now. It's all here. Chapter 21, Matthew 21:23. Now, when he came into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people confronted him as he was teaching and said, by what authority are you doing these things? And who gave you this authority? But Jesus answered to them and said, I will also ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. So Jesus asked his question to the Pharisees. He says, the baptism of John, where was it from? From heaven or from men? So the Pharisees reasoned among themselves, saying, if we say from heaven, Jesus is going to say to us, why then did you not believe him? But if we say from men, the Pharisees feared the multitude, so they couldn't say that out loud in front of all the people, because the people counted John a prophet. So they answered Jesus and said, we do not know. And Jesus said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. It sounds like a really good little anecdote, a story, but there's something deeper being conveyed here. What was being conveyed is that a collection of souls confronted Jesus. What they projected, they got right back to them. The exact same thing. What Jesus has been teaching in his words about the highly individualized soul projecting out into the field of experience and receiving back as experiences what was projected out. In the things Jesus did, now he literally demonstrated it. He demonstrated it. The Pharisees received exactly what they projected into the field, which was a non-response to a question. It's actually genius. So they answered Jesus and says, we do not know. And he said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. Next section. Okay, now, Purple Queen, you might want to go into my playlist. I have some really good videos on the goddess. All right, let's go. So, signs and miracles are of the evil Materium. That's what they are. Let's see something real quick. Signs and wonders Did I go back too far? I did. Oh, there they are. Signs and miracles are of the evil Materium. Okay, but Jason, Jesus did a bunch of miracles and signs. Yes, he did. Let's break that down. I told you this is going to be a video you're going to want to share with your Christian brothers and sisters. Matthew chapter 7, verse 22 through 23. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have we not cast out devils? And in your name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess to them, this is Jesus speaking, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Okay, from the perspective of history, if we try to compartmentalize the gospel narrative as a historical series of acts, then Jesus would be a liar. Because the very thing he did not condone and called men evil about, he literally went off and did. But when it's regarded in its original context as a very spiritual literary masterpiece, there is no contradiction. I'm going to show you the literary devices used in here that give it away. Jesus was not being hypocritical. Let me show you. I'm going to read that to you one more time before we continue. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? And in thy name have we not cast out devils? And in your name done many wonderful works? But Jesus said, I will profess unto them that I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. So the working of signs, the working of miracles, and the exorcism of devils to Jesus are works of iniquity. Why? Because they're in the Materium. Let me show you. Because what Jesus was actually doing will blow your mind. Some of you already know where this is going. I know my Archaix veterans have heard this before about 3 years ago in a presentation. Chapter 12, verse 38 through 39. Then certain of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from you. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there shall be no sign given to it. What? Who put all the signs and miracles in the New Testament then? And there shall no sign be given it. Now, the narrative continues to talk about Jonah, the sign of Jonah being 3 days in the belly of a whale, and this is associated by the church as the 3 days that Jesus was dead before he resurrected after he was crucified. I don't know, and nor is it a part of this presentation. 16:4. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. 13:24 through 30. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. These are weeds. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds? He said to them, An enemy has done this. And the servants said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the weeds, you also uproot the wheat with them, the crop. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Jesus explains this parable. It's one of the only parables he explains. He says, the field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The parable adds a deeper understanding to what's going on here. The church has compartmentalized the teachings of Jesus and basically separated the past, present, and the future. But the teachings of Jesus are timeless. The wheat and the weeds are growing among the field even now, even today, like they did in the past, like they will continue to do in the future. And when it comes to harvest, there is never one harvest because every field is harvested multiple times. The harvest is always timed in accordance to astronomical phenomena. Therefore, we're dealing with a construct that has systemic resets. Those resets divide the sheep from the goats. This is all done at the same time. The children of the kingdom of light and the children of the kingdom of the wicked one coexist. The two kingdoms are simultaneous in the construct. They are not separate, nor are they sequential. They're at the same time. Again, well, first of all, I have a little side note. No, I don't. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. Again, we're dealing with a punctuated reset on a timeline that just continues ad infinitum. It just goes on and on and on and on. It is punctuated by harvests. At these harvest points, the good and the bad are separated. But what happens with a harvest? New seeds are sown. New seeds or new human populations are introduced into the field. This is what I've shown in Archaix from the beginning and inception of my channel, the Phoenix phenomenon and the Nemesis X history. What is going on? How in the field we have systemic resets that are punctuated by the disappearance of human populations, and also with the sudden appearance of human populations that don't make any sense. It just don't make any sense. This is what I've been showing in Archaix from the beginning. Jesus identifies the scribes of the kingdom of heaven in 1352. Then said he unto them, therefore every scribe which is instructed into the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. Pay attention to this. You need to pay attention to this because Jesus is literally telling you right now who to pay attention to and who to write off as full of shit. That's right. You have to be careful what you ingest. A lot of you have gained trust in my ability to discern and separate fact from fiction. A lot of you enjoy my presentations, but you disagree with me on certain nuances. All that's good. But you've learned to trust that the majority of the material that I present is accurate, or at least from the heart. I believe it. So you come back to my channel over and over and over. And a lot of people, you read different authors, you look at their channels, you go to other platforms like BitChute, Rumble, Reddit, and you have what is that real popular one that's all literary written? Might have videos. I can't remember. Damn, I can't remember. So anyway, you get the gist of what I mean. Jesus is literally telling you right now the litmus test for those you need to listen to. And if you listen to that and think that I'm not one of them that you should be listening to, by all means, go. Go. From the beginning of my channel, I have been inviting people to go. And in most circumstances, within 2 to 3 months, they're already back listening again. Jesus identifies the scribes of the kingdom of heaven. He says this, therefore, every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. That's right. Jesus is identifying for you, those are the people that you need to be paying attention to. You're not supposed to be paying attention to some moron who's standing at a pulpit who's literally regurgitating the same thing for each 52 sermons a year, reading from a Southern Baptist syllabus and really doesn't even believe anything he's saying. Yeah. If someone does not have the ability to introduce old ideas in novel ways over and over and over, then there's something wrong. Am I calling them stupid? No, I'm calling them having a lack of spirit. Because what I tell you guys all the time, if you are truly moored to source, you will always draw from yourself more than you contain. And if you're drawing from yourself more than you contain, then it's coming from somewhere external of you. Just like I tell you all the time about thoughts. Thoughts are in the field. So if you're listening to someone who begins to sound like they're saying the same thing over and over and over and over and not providing you new and novel ways to see the same older concepts, then you've outgrown that individual. You need to move on. Go listen to someone else. I'm just telling that's basically what's being said right here. Every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. Chapter 4, verse 17. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Okay, I put a note here. This is a present tense statement. The kingdom of heaven isn't far away. The kingdom of heaven isn't coming in the future. Yeah, coming soon. Billboard, coming soon. Kingdom of heaven. No. The two kingdoms coexist. They're here now inside the construct. The kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of the wicked one, they're here together. This was said before Jesus was crucified. This was said before the lamb was led to slaughter. This was said before the resurrection. This was said before the annunciation. It was said before the Garden of Gethsemane, all these things that the church added, all these elements the church added. It was said before all that. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's already here. Chapter 12, 28 through 31. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God is come upon you. Come unto you. Wherefore I say unto you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven unto men. But the blasphemy against the Holy Ghost shall not be forgiven unto men. This was said before the crucifixion. So, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand was already a concept before the crucifixion and resurrection, and so was blaspheming the Holy Ghost. Then what good was the crucifixion and resurrection if these spiritual principles were already extant and were already executed? God is eternal. The church turned it into a sequential timeline that salvation came in steps, historicizing something that was only spiritually literary. Chapter 23:13. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, neither do you suffer them that are entering to go in, trying to go in. It's not talking about the Pharisees were not stopping people from entering the kingdom of heaven at a future date. No, not at all. It's present tense. What they were doing was in what was right then and there. The kingdom of heaven already operated in the field before Jesus was betrayed, killed, whipped, crucified, whatever, resurrected. Whatever all the things the church added. Kingdom of heaven was already operative. These things that Jesus taught were already going on in the field. Chapter 17, verse 14 through 15. I have given them thy word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that thou shouldst take them out of the world, but that thou shouldst keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. This is the book of John, chapter 17, verse 14 through 15. Again, it's reinforcing the concept that we are sojourners. We're just passing through. We're not here. We are immortals inside the construct. It's a bifurcated field. We're suffering this dichotomy of good and evil. That's how Genesis starts. From the very beginning, before Adam and Eve ever sinned, there was already a tree of knowledge of good and evil. It was already there. Provision was already made before humans entered the construct. Chapter 16, verse 33. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. There's that word again. Overcome. It's the chief word in the Christian mysteries, as I revealed exactly 1 year ago today on Christmas Day in 2023, right here on YouTube, in my video, The Christian Mysteries. We focused on that word and what it means in the book of Revelation, the unveiling. To he who overcometh, and I need to go watch that video. The link is in the description box. So now we get to the next section. How's our time looking? I haven't even checked my time. All right, man. Let me go ahead and hold on. We love this sound. You know what? Let me go ahead and exit out of here just for a second. Stop sharing. All right. Check my chat. All right. Thank you, Tone Deaf. The best part of waking up, Archaix in my cup. Man, Archaix coffee, it's going down. You guys know I love my coffee. Got that Phoenix blend. Pamela Swan, Aaron's Choice Coffee. Yeah, man, let's go. Let's get back into it. All right, 2208 is divisible by 138. It's a Phoenix number. That's a sign for me to get back into this presentation. There's 2,208 people in the chat. Divisible by 138. I love it. Now, let me get back to the presentation before I lose somebody else. I'll present. We got some amazing mindgasms on Jesus's parables, because we're getting into the parables, guys. Yeah, you're gonna have some mindgasms, things you've never heard from the church. Let's go with you've probably heard from different spiritual individuals, but as far as the church teachings, no. All right, share screen. Back to sharing the screen. All right. Get over here. Next section. If the construct is a materium where highly personalized souls moored to source can still navigate, then scripture should provide evidence. Let's take a look. Matthew chapter 8, verse 21, 22. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. What? What is going on here? Let the dead bury the dead. Okay. Chapter 10, verse 34 through 36. Think not that I come to send peace on earth. What I tell you all the time, man, you're not here to save the world. You're not. That's what this is, just passing through. We are sojourners, pilgrims. We are on our way. We are specifically here to mature and grow as immortal beings. That's why we're here, because we do have a destiny, but it's not inside the construct. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. How many of you, since you started listening to Archaix, have suffered this? Wendy Flores, are you in the chat? How many of you have had issues in the past with siblings, sons or daughters, grandchildren, spouses, parents that could not stand to hear my voice, but you played my videos anyway? I know it's a bunch of you because I've got the emails. Think not that I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father. When Jesus says that this is what he's doing, by extension, that transposes to everyone also doing his work. The world is not going to resonate with that. Just like if you are truly awakened, if you are spiritually vibrating higher than the collective right now, then ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, BBC, and a host of other legacy media, mainstream media venues get under your skin, and they make you very nauseous when you listen to them. You grate your teeth. You have to turn it off. That's right. You already know. We've discussed a lot how the world that we're experiencing is a byproduct of mainstream media's programs, what they do. Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate and narrow is the way which leads to life, and few there be that find it. It's just another good way of explaining that the awakened are always the minority. Through every harvest. What is a harvest? I'm going to tell you what a harvest is. Hesiod called them the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age. The Aztecs called it the Water Sun, the Stone Sun, Earth Sun, the Son of the Giants, Aztec Toltec stone of the fifth sun. What exactly is a harvest? Well, in ancient India, they called them yugas. What is a harvest? The Sumerians called them nurs. What was the Sumerian word for that symbolized the harvest? It was the Arub, A-R-U-B. Arub means to break the world up in pieces. And in ancient Sumerian, it was the plow sign. It's the sign they used for an impact or a great destruction in the world. It's called the Arub. So here we have here we have right here basically a description of the collective. The collective are the living dead. So let's go back. Go back to what Jesus first said. Jesus told that man to follow me and let the dead bury their dead. So when you hear modern day people like myself talk about the living dead, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the collective. If you're not awake, you may as well be dead, because you're going to be replanted for the next harvest. What is a harvest? It's an age. It's an age between systemic resets. Every reset is a harvest. That's what's happening. Then said he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Thank you guys for those donations. Really do appreciate it. Not necessary. Always appreciated. Put to good use. Chapter 12, verse 46 through 50. While he yet talked to the people, Jesus, behold, his mother and his brethren stood outside, desiring to speak with him. This is Jesus' mom and his brothers. Then one said unto him, behold, your mother and your brothers stand outside, desiring to speak with you. But Jesus answered and said unto him, who is my mother? And who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand towards his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brothers. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father, the oversoul, which is in heaven, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother. Again, the gospel narrative separates the materium from spirituality. Jesus is literally explaining that the awakened, the elite, the elect, they are the ones that he is spiritually kin to, and that genealogies and blood and historicity means nothing. They're parts of the materium. Jesus is talking about errands. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it to you that Jesus not only hung around nothing but errands, but was an errant. For those new to my channel and you don't understand what I'm talking about, this is Archaix, Advanced Research of Chronological History of Artificial Intelligence X. Meaning, we use a lot of terms. We have a huge glossary on YouTube. Excuse me, it's on YouTube, but it's also on archaix.com. You can look up glossary, and it has all the terms that are used in Archaix. Errant is a soul that goes another way, that has divorced itself from constructual programming called dungeon programming. Dungeon programming can be looked up. When you look it up, it's going to tell you it's a feedback loop caused by the construct, like a religious belief, a socio-political belief, something you do every day of your life, and you think you're free, but it's a feedback loop. And the only time you really realize you're enslaved is when you try to stop doing it. So, chapter 13, verse 10 through 11. And the disciples came and said unto him, why do you speak in parables? He answered and said, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, present tense, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever does not have, from him shall be taken away even that which he has. Therefore, speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, and neither do they understand. To him who hath, more will be given, and to him who doesn't have, even what he has will be taken from him and given to the one that has the more. There's another parable that touches on this concept. This is a spiritual law. It's not talking about anything in the Materium. It's not even talking about material possessions. It's like that old story of the guy who spent his whole life collecting these amazing treasures, and he's carrying the bag, and he's got this huge bag of antiques, and he falls down, he gets back up, and he's got these huge antiques, but when he gets back up, something's changed, and he can't figure it out. And he gets to this river, and this boat shows up on this river, and when the ferryman gets to him, he looks at the ferryman and he thinks, wow, that ferryman looks terrible, man. He's almost like a skeleton. He's starving. So the ferryman, before he can say anything, he's holding this huge heavy bag full of relics and artifacts he's collected all his life. And the ferryman just looks at him and says, you or your possessions, sir, both cannot be borne. So the guy's wrestling. He's like, well, what are you talking about? I can't let these go. And he's trying to think of a way to get on the boat and then go to the other side of the river. And then from the other side of the river, how he can send the boat back or how he can get back to get the bag. So he's thinking about giving the bag over to the ferryman and telling the ferryman to go over there, but he doesn't want to get separated for it. And he wrestles with this forever, because he died when he fell down holding the bag, and he was at the river Styx, and that was the Grim Reaper on the river of Styx in Acheron in hell, basically trying to ferry him to the other side. Maybe he could get out of hell, but instead he couldn't let go of his possessions. Here it is. Jesus is not talking about the Materium. He's talking about spiritual things. Right here. To him who has, more will be given. But to him who doesn't have, even what he has will be taken from him. This is why it's so terrible to be a part of the collective, because they are blind to the fact that they cannot see. Okay, so we're at Jesus healing. Oh, this is where it gets good. This is where the juicy starts, guys. Man, I told you you're going to start resonating with some stuff in here. Jesus' healing required the immortal within. Here it is. Jesus' healing required the immortal within. I hear it all the time from my Christian brothers and sisters, man. Oh, man, Jesus healed this person. I'm telling you now, Jesus never healed anyone. It never happened. I'm going to show it to you. I don't care what the church is taught. I don't care about what the church fathers have taught. You guys already know I have full data sets on every single church father and all the discrepancies in their writings. It's because they tried to historicize what was a spiritual, timeless literary composition. Pay attention to these verses. See the interactive dynamic that is going on between the individual immortals in the construct that are suffering. Their avatars are suffering. And what happens between them and Jesus. Pay attention. I shouldn't have to say it. Chapter 8, verse 2 through 3. This is the section, Jesus' healing required the immortal within. And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou will, thou can make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will. Thou be clean. Be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. I know what I just read, and I'm telling you right now, Jesus didn't heal him. Chapter 8, verse 5 through 13. Now, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I am also a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he marveled, and he said to those who followed, assuredly, I say unto you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, and will sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. A lot of this is extraneous to the point I'm making, but the point I'm making was seen in the very beginning of this passage. Jesus did not heal that individual, although I'm also going to tell you that, that according to the text, that individual was healed. So what's going on? Then Jesus said to the centurion, go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. And this servant was healed that same hour. I need some coffee. Okay. So every instance of healing was because people around him had the faith that he could do it. The New Testament narrative does not have a Jesus miracle worker that is impersonal, but specifically engages with each soul in a kind of mutually agreed contract. The intervention of the divine from Jesus does not happen until the immortal within in each avatar agrees that Jesus is able to perform the act. This isn't a miracle worker. This is a relationship. Pay attention. Chapter 9, verse 18 through 24. So, while he spake these things unto him, behold, there came a certain ruler and worshipped him, saying, my daughter is even now dead. But come and lay thy hand upon her, and she shall live. And Jesus arose and followed him, and so did his disciples. This is where we get a story within a story. Jesus just learned that this girl had died, and he's still going to go because this woman had said that he wanted her to intervene. She's already dead. We get a story within a story. It's a beautiful literary device. On the way to deal with a dead girl, a second narrative pops up in the text. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. For she said within herself, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. But Jesus turned about him, and when he saw her, he said, daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that same hour. Then the original narrative continues as if that's just an aside. And when Jesus came into the ruler's house and saw the minstrels and the people making noise, he said unto them, give place, for the maid is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn. But when the people were put forth, he went in and took her by the hand, and the maid arose. So it's a very compelling literary device. This interweaving of narratives that you just saw here, but that's all it is. It's a narrative. So, and it was beautiful, but it still hammers in the point that Jesus is not doing anything. Chapter 9, verse 27 through 30. And when Jesus departed thence, two blind men followed him, crying and saying, thou son of David, have mercy on us. And when he was come into the house, the blind men came to him. And Jesus said unto them, Believe, do you believe that I am able to do this? And they said unto him, Yes, Lord. Then Jesus touched their eyes, saying, According to your faith, be it unto you. And their eyes were opened. Chapter 12, verse 13. Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Did Jesus heal him, or was there an interactive exchange here? Did the person that needed healing first do an act in the field before the healing occurred? This is something for you to answer. Chapter 13, verse 55 through 58. These are people who know Jesus, who know his mom, know his dad, know his family. Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brethren, James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then had this man all these things? And they were offended in him. But Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. At that location, Jesus hardly healed anyone. Why? Was he being prejudiced against them because they didn't respect him? No. It says, and he did not many mighty works there because the qualifier was their unbelief. Had nothing to do with his. Chapter 14 through 35, 36. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. And as many as touched were made perfectly whole. Jesus didn't do anything. Chapter 15, verse 28. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt, as you will. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Again, Jesus didn't do anything. Chapter 17, 15 through 18. Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed. For oft times he falls into the fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Again, interactive relationship between the requester and the requestee. Chapter 20, verse 31 through 34. And the multitude rebuked them because they should hold their peace. But they cried the more, saying, Have mercy on us, Lord, thou son of David. And Jesus stood still and called to them and said, What will you have that I should do unto you? And they said unto him, Lord, that our eyes may be opened. So Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. Here, the blind actively sought Jesus out and believed Jesus had that power, but Jesus didn't do anything. Next section. We got a few sections to go, guys. Next section. Acts of healing, discharging sin debt, forgiveness. Chapter 9, verse 2 through 5. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Jesus, seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee. And behold, a certain of the scribes said within themselves, this man blasphemes. And Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, wherefore think ye evil in your hearts? For what is easier, to say, your sins are forgiven you, or to say, arise and walk? This passage is demonstrating that whatever these people are suffering, this is going to get deep, guys. The avatar suffers everything that is projected from within. Sometimes some people, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's a book they read, maybe it's coming into contact with somebody who had something similar, maybe it's a deep emotional trauma. Whatever it is, what's broadcasting from the soul is reflected back as circumstance, and people make themselves sick. Guilt is a type of sin because you're guiltless. Don't believe the church. You're not born in sin. You're not guilty before you ever had a chance to do a trespass. That's ridiculous. That's dungeon programming. But there are many things, there are many ways that our behavior and our thoughts will project out into the field circumstances that will turn around and be reflected back to us as physical ailments. And those physical ailments over time will grow into things like cancer. So, and of course, those things can also be introduced through diet. But what I'm saying is Jesus is literally revealing here that problems with the avatar can be dealt with by discharging that guilt, that sin. So we'll see some more of that in these passages. So a cripple for 38 years. There was a cripple. He's been crippled for 38 years. Somehow he got to the pool. There's a pool in the New Testament where it says that an angel stirred the water. Every once in a while, it was enough times a month or a year for all the lame, crippled, diseased to gather around the pool. And as soon as somebody saw the ripples in the water, the first person in the pool was healed completely. Is it true? I don't know. It's a narrative. It's a literary masterpiece. But this man was paralyzed. He couldn't. He tells Jesus, man, I don't have anybody to put me in the pool. And before I can even get somebody to put me in the pool, somebody else is already in the water. So John 5:14, afterwards Jesus findeth him in the temple and said unto him, behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. So here's the second time Jesus finds that somebody's condition is the result of themselves, something they introduced into the field. Now, I told you I was going to provide you some amazing examples of the oversoul's forgiveness, not the church version, not the religiosity, not this toxic God weighs us on the scales crap that's been introduced by the church. This is straight out of Jesus's mouth about the oversoul. This is some profound material here. So the oversoul is eternally forgiving. Here are amazing examples. This is Jesus's words. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king. This is the book of Matthew, king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But forasmuch as he didn't have the pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, and all that he had, so that he could be paid what was owed him. But the servant that owed these 10,000 talents, the servant fell down and worshiped him and said, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and he loosed him. He even forgave him the debt. I've been trying to tell you guys, the oversoul is cool. I've been saying it over and over for years on my channel. God is not the figure that we've been made to believe through religion. And he was moved with compassion and loosed him and forgave him the debt. Not only did he not sell him into slavery with his wife and his kids to satisfy a debt that was legally owed, but he even forgave him the whole debt. This isn't about a master and a slave. This is about the oversoul and an errant, an oversoul and an immortal inside the construct. The oversoul doesn't take score. You do. You were trained to do it. That's why you feel guilt. You beat yourself down over and over and over and over when the oversoul is only playing by the rules that you invoked. But when it really comes down to it, and you're at the bottom, you've completely bottomed out, and there's nothing else to do but look up like this poor soul here. All you've got to do is enter the relationship to absolve all the debt. That's exactly what the servant did. And the servant worshiped him and told him, be patient and I will pay thee all. That is an admission of a relationship. But it wasn't even necessary. It was the will to do right that had the oversoul look down and not only stop punishment, but even bless the servant that had trespassed by completely wiping the debt. Oh, we're going to see more of that right here. So this story right here is only found in the Gospel of John. There isn't a hint of this story in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. This is only in the book of John. John chapter 8, verse 3 through 11. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such a woman should be stoned. But what do you say? The Pharisees said this, tempting him, that they might have cause to accuse him. This was a trap. It was a trap question on more than one level. But Jesus, instead of answering, Jesus stooped down. Imagine a crowd of people, and these Pharisees come in, and they're all in their raiment, and they're all with their authority, and all the people get quiet because this is a confrontation. All the people are quiet and listening to these authority figures from the Jewish Sanhedrin. Here they are, Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes, and they asked Jesus a legitimate legal question from the law concerning capital punishment. We're supposed to stone this woman. She was caught in the very act of adultery. The law of Moses was very clear. She is to be stoned until dead. Now, but there's more to this story. Instead of answering, with all the people watching, with the Pharisees and the Sadducees waiting for his response, he stooped down and with his finger began writing in the dirt. He pretended that he didn't even hear them. So when they continued asking him, he lifted himself up and said unto them, excuse me, I might have skipped a part. Hold on. Okay, he said, he lifted himself up and he looked at the Pharisees and he said, he that is without sin among you, cast the first stone. So it's a famous parable, but there's a whole lot more going on here. Not the parable, but the narrative continues that Jesus again stooped down and wrote on the ground. He had just told the Pharisees, "He among you that is without sin, let him cast the first stone." With a finger, he is writing in the earth. And they which heard this, the Pharisees, being convicted of their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman was standing in his midst. When Jesus had lifted himself up and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? And she said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. So, years ago, in one of my more spiritual times, when I was going through the scriptures, I had done a meditation on this passage because I knew that there was more to it I did this with a lot of passages in the Bible, and these are all in my handwritten notes. So I had an aha moment. There was no way the scripture was going to be that specific about Jesus writing in the earth. I knew there was something to it. And in my mind, I was led to the Old Testament, in the only other passage in the entire Old Testament where the finger of God wrote in the earth. So, well, we actually have a passage that says written in the earth. And the finger of God actually wrote on a wall in the days of the prophet Daniel in a palace in Babylon. But the term wicked or written in the earth is in Jeremiah 17:13. All that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living waters. It is the only time in Scripture that the finger of God appeared, in Daniel chapter 5, verse 25. And the message was mean Tekel of Harshan. So before we get to that translation, what we have here are the Pharisees trying to trap Jesus in the law. And instead of answering, they've already accused him of blasphemy, saying that, oh, people are calling you the Son of God. You said you and the Father are one, that you're a part of the Godhead, that you and the Spirit are one. They've already got this. So now they have a man in their presence who the people are thinking he is God in the flesh, Emmanuel, God with us. And he stoops down and writes in the earth. These are men of the law. They knew the book of Jeremiah in and out. And as soon as he was writing in the earth, they knew Jesus was writing the names of the Pharisees and the Sadducees in the dirt. And when they saw that, they knew only the wicked are written in the earth. And here was somebody claiming to be a part of the Godhead doing just that. And it probably terrified the shit out of him. He's writing in a deal. He did it 2 times. But they also knew the book of Daniel. And in the book of Daniel, the finger of God in the form of a man's hand appears all by itself, floating in the air, and it writes on the wall, mean, Tekel of Harshan. And the prophet Daniel is called in by Belshazzar to interpret, Nebuchadnezzar II, to interpret what just appeared on the wall. He loosed his bowels, he crapped on himself, whatever. This was the finger of God appeared on the wall. And it says, this is the interpretation of the thing. Mean, God has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Paris, The kingdom is divided. The Pharisees offered, wait a minute. The kingdom is divided. So it's mean, tekel, a parson. So numbered, weighed, divided. It was a prophetic message interpreted by Daniel, and now the Pharisees saw it as well. And they put this in their mind. Just like that, they came to get a woman stoned to trap Jesus in the law. But the trap was even more sophisticated because they only brought the woman. And if Jesus would have said, yeah, the law says you got to stone the woman to death, well, they would have trapped Jesus because he didn't say anything about the man. In the law of Moses specifically has both. You can't commit adultery by yourself. The man and the woman are to be stoned with stones. It was a multifaceted trap. So I would have been scared too if I would have been a priest and I tried to trap Jesus. And then all of a sudden, with a finger, he writes my name in the dirt. And I know the scriptures, and I put it all together. Yeah, my name. He wrote my name in the dirt. Yeah, the wicked are written in the earth. And then the finger of God, numbered, weighed, divided. Yeah, they walked away. There was no way they could deal with that response. So we get to my favorite parable in the New Testament. The prodigal son. I'm always paraphrasing it, but this time I'm going to read it. It's my favorite parable, the prodigal son. It is only found in the book of Luke. It is not in Matthew, Mark, or John. And he said, this is Jesus, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to the father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed pigs, swine. So he became an indentured servant after he left his father's house with a bunch of wealth. He squandered all of his wealth and became an indentured servant in a foreign country. And he would have fain have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came unto himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto my father, I have sinned against heaven, and I have sinned against you before thee, and I am no more worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of the hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and I am no more worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. So the parable continues, but you need to understand what a parable is. What is a parable? A parable is a lie. I've explained this on my channel many times. I even have a video called When the Lie is the Truth. Matter of fact, the link to that's in the description box. A parable is not the truth. A parable is an image of truth. Just like in Genesis, humans aren't gods. Humans are images of God. Everything inside the construct is almost like the photo negative of something that should how it is outside the construct. Everything here is in the reverse. This is a predator versus prey ecosphere. This is a world made by the demiurge. In Christian parlance, it's the God of this world, the prince of the principalities of the air. He is the maker of this falsified version of reality. This is why the true spiritual being in the construct is just a pilgrim. It's just a sojourner passing through. Don't belong to the construct. We're outsiders, and our destination is outside the construct. So this is what the whole story of Exodus is about. So we have here that the errant is the one that got all his possessions, got his inheritance from the family, and effed off. Did whatever he wanted to do, hoard around. We know he hoarded around with prostitutes and all that because that's the son's issue. The other son took issue. We'll read that in a minute. But he went out and he explored the world. He did what he wanted to do. He learned the difference between easy living and slavery. He became an indentured servant. He was slave to dungeon programming. He hungered, he starved, he wanted. He did all these things. He did it to himself. But he went out into the world and he did it. And then he humbled himself and said, I will go back home. Even though I know I've lost my inheritance, I will go back home. I will humble myself and I will apologize. And I will be far less than what I was when I began. And he did it. But when he went back, he didn't get the reception he thought he was going to get. Instead, he was blessed. The prodigal son received all the blessing, received all the gifts, the shoes, the new robe, the new ring, the fatted calf, the party, and was received with open arms when he came back home. The oversoul does not take score. You do. The second part of the parable. Now his elder son was in the field. And as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has received him safe and sound. And he was angry. The brother now, who never left home, was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out to him and entreated him. And he, answering his father, said, All these years I served you, neither did I transgress at any time your commandment. And yet you never gave me a kid that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this your other son comes home, who has devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And the father said unto the son, Son, you art ever with me. You have always been with me, and all that I have is yours. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. The other brother couldn't get past the idea that he's always had everything. By blind obedience, he never left. But the real reward went to the prodigal son, the errant, because this individual learned by experience, not obedience. This individual learned by going through it, not by just obeying the rules. The errant is the one in the prodigal son parable that the oversoul truly values, not the blindly obedient. It's all here. I don't know if there's a more aspect, but there's definitely not a less aspect. So the oversoul is going to equally love both sons. So I should rephrase that. However, there is cause to celebrate when one who is lost is returned. So that's basically the what's going on here. Prodigal son is the story of the errant. The errant always goes another way, another way. So uh chapter 9 verse 10 through, this is Matthew chapter 9 verse 10 and 11. And it came to pass, as Jesus sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, why eateth your master with publicans and sinners, courtesans, prostitutes, harlots, street thugs? Basically, is what they're saying. Tax collectors, all the people that are shunned in society. But when Jesus heard that, he said unto them, they that be whole need no physician, but they that are sick. But go you and learn what this means. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. For I am come to call the righteous. No, I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. That's who Jesus hung around. That's three amazing. God's not a scorekeeper. We are. Right there. Prodigal son. There are three. What was the title of that again? Yeah, I'm the one that titled it. Yeah. Oversoul is eternally forgiving. Three amazing examples right here, straight out of Jesus' mouth. All right. So now we get to the next section. Construct designed to provide. The construct that we're in is specifically designed to provide. That's what it's for. Let me see here. I need to figure out what it did with my chat. There it is. All right. Got to make sure you guys see what I see. Construct design. Chapter 6, verse 25. Take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, what you shall drink, nor yet for your body what you will put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body more than raiment? Behold the birds of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? For your heavenly Father knows that you have need of these things. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom, if his son asks bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he asks fish, will he give him a serpent? If you, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? Chapter 10, verse 9 through 20. Remember, this is about the construct provides. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you will speak. For it shall be given to you in that same hour what you shall speak. For it is not you that speaks, but the Spirit of your Father which speaks in you. How many times have I told you in Archaix? Do not be amazed. Many of you have seen my van freestyles and my podcasts where I'm itemizing facts. I'm itemizing dates. I've never changed a date up in almost 1,000 presentations. I don't need to. I know my material. But many of you have been amazed about this steady flow of information. I tell you guys all the time, man, thoughts are not in the brain. The brain is releasing the necessary hormones for the body to follow whatever is being thought. It's a receiver. Thoughts are in the field. When you're connected to source, you will draw from yourself more than you contain. And that includes the information in the field that is necessary for me to say, for you to hear. Happens all the time. So, like I said, it's a relationship. And as long as that relationship is going well, then it's a continual wellspring from source of information that anybody can do it. Not special. Anybody can do it. And many people do. Chapter 10, verse 29 through 31. Are not two sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore. You are more valuable than many sparrows. This is all about the construct providing. Chapter 6, verse 34. Take therefore no thought of the morrow, for tomorrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Remember, you're in the simulacrum. It is created or modified by the demiurge, the god of this world. This is why you're a pilgrim. You're literally existing within two fundamentally different coexisting realities. The kingdom of God, which is only experienced in the highly personal, individualized soul. And then the construct, the collective, the dungeon programming. The golden rule is the only rule. Oh, we're not done yet, guys. The golden rule is the only rule. Chapter 25, verse 34 through 40. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer unto him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see a stranger and took you in, naked or clothed you? Or when were you sick or in prison and we came unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, verily, truthfully I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it to me. Chapter 11, 7 through 8. We are all sparks of the divine fire. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the only rule that you need to abide by because it covers everything. Chapter 11, 7 through 8. But if ye had known what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. We can say it a whole different way. But if you would know what this means, I will have mercy and not crucifixion. If you would know what this means, I will have mercy and not human sacrifice. Yeah, the church has done us no service. Chapter 13, verse 20. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that receiveth whomsoever I send, receives me. And he that receives me, receives him that sent me, the oversoul. The Christian mysteries, the one who overcometh. Chapter 16, verse 13 through 19. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, I don't know how to say it, Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, Some say that you are John the Baptist. Others say you're Elias. That would be Elijah. And others, Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. So Jesus said, But who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, son of Jonah. Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto you that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. The name Peter comes from Petra. It means rock. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give thee, I will give thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whosoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. And whosoever thou shalt loose on earth, whatsoever shall be loosed on earth shall be loosed in heaven. The interpretation of this passage is that faith, trust in the oversoul, is the key to the kingdom of heaven. Trust in the oversoul is how the anointed is going to build his body of believers in the construct, which will always be a minority. What Rome did was historicize this statement, and they turned it into Peter founding the Church of Rome. They turned it into Peter being the founder of Christianity in Rome. They turned it into the Vatican being the ultimate authority, the rock from which the church is built. They historicized what was purely spiritual. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are anointed, the Son of the living God. As I showed in a prior presentation, who is Jesus? Who is Christ? In the book of Revelation, he rebukes John for trying something, trying to worship him or something, and he tells him, I am just like you. He's literally revealing, I came through the construct too. That's right, guys. Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you. No genealogy told you that I am the Christ. No scriptures told you that I'm the son of this, son of this, son of this, son of this. No, flesh and blood, the Materium would never allow you to say what you just said. Thou art Peter, thou art the rock, faith. And upon this rock I will build my church. And upon this belief, this faith in the oversoul, I will build my church, my body of believers. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever you will bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. There's nothing physical you could do on a physical world that will affect anything in the heavens. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Therefore, it's talking about something deeper. What you bind, what you release. What is bound and what is released? Well, if you bind somebody, you hold them to the very things that they have already set in motion. If you release them, you forgive them. You discharge that debt. And if a believer inside the constructs discharges the debt of another soul, it will be honored in heaven. This is the statement that's being made here. This is basically literally a fulfillment of know ye not that ye are all gods. Chapter 21, verse 42 through 44. The Pharisees confront Jesus. See if y'all are caught up to me. Alpha Coach Tom, you're absolutely correct. We are bound and loosed by our choices. Chapter 21. Jesus said unto them, Did you never read in the scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I say unto you, he's talking to the Pharisees, The kingdom of God shall be taken from you and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken. But on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. The Christian mysteries are all about the symbolism of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. I've shown this multiple times. In the Christian mysteries, we find that, like in the Shepherd of Hermas text, it's all about the building of the pyramid. How every stone is a soul of man, and that the chief cornerstone, the stone the builders rejected, will sit atop the monument of man at its completion. And this is how the souls that are here will make their exodus from the construct when the harvest happens. And then the construct will continue until the next harvest. The field is always producing crops. The stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. Whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken. It's talking metaphorically. A broken and contrite spirit. Whoever shall fall means to rely, and whoever will lean on this stone, whoever will rely on this Christ, will be broken, a broken and contrite spirit, humble. But on whomsoever it shall fall, the judgment, it will crush them to powder. You can't crush something to powder unless it's a part of the Materium, unless it's a part of the experienced physicality or alleged physical reality. Everything is different modes of spirit and vibration. But to crush something into powder is judgment. It's negative. And to do so means what is being crushed is immersed into the Materium. It's a part of the physical world. So this passage, and whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken. This is spiritual. But on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. Materium. All right. So we're done with that part. Stop sharing my screen. All right. Still got 21. I think I saw 2,200 or something a little earlier. That's pretty good. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Guys, you know the Christian mysteries. I talk about them a lot. Not all the time, but a lot. Christian mysteries. To he that overcometh will I give a white stone and a new name. To he that overcometh will I make him to be arrayed in white garments, a new avatar. To he that overcometh will I make him to be a temple, a pillar in the temple of my God. That's what it says. To he who overcometh, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God. What was a pillar in ancient mindset? A pillar was possessed divine knowledges. When you went into a temple, the pillars were covered in divine knowledges. To he that overcometh. This is the Christian mysteries. We are told that when John came across a certain angel and found out toward the book of Revelation it was the Christ, he was told, this be one that overcometh. So, in truth, Christ is our brother. The anointed is our brother. The creation never ended. It's not a singularity. It wasn't an event. It's a continuum. So if the creation is a continuum, so is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a continuum. If the kingdom of heaven is a continuum, so is the kingdom of darkness. This dichotomy inside this controlled construct. And if these are necessarily a part of the structure of reality outside the construct, then they're definitely an extension of the oversoul, because the oversoul is eternal. So the field will never end, and the harvests will continue, the systemic resets. And what we gain from this is in between harvests, we grow in intuition, empathy, and imagination. The three chief spiritual qualities. We live through these experiences to grow and to do these things. So the subjects and their interpretations as presented in this video should be real familiar to my Archaix veterans, for these are the foundational materials of Archaix from the inception of my channel. All I did was make them more sophisticated. But the problem is over time, over the centuries, over 2 millennia, the church has historicized something that was absolutely spiritual. But it's all here in the teachings of Jesus. Negative default programming, dungeon programming, the errant as opposed to the collective, it's all here. But in historicizing what was a very spiritual literary narrative, in historicizing it, they had to immerse it into the Materium. And anything that's attached to the Materium also has to happen in sequential order. So now all these foundational spiritual teachings are put into a chronology that just doesn't make sense, because every story is timeless. And yet it's now been force fit into a narrative and called history when it was never the case. Never the case. I'm wishing you guys a Merry Christmas, but that's my presentation. In the pinned comment, I'm going to have the PDF for this entire presentation available. It's already available. It's already on Podia, and I already have the link right here. I'm going to copy and paste it. But I'm also going to have a whole bunch of links to all kinds of things that are very interesting. And I want to remind you guys that I have updated my We Immortals playlist and my Dark Scriptures playlist that I showed at the beginning. My We Immortals playlist I have not showed you, but you need to go visit it, because there were a lot of videos that I had missed that belong in there. And the reason it's relevant to this is because my We Immortals playlist already touched on all these concepts. They were just packaged in modern parlance. So, Merry Christmas. And for all you triggered Christians out there that keep sending me all these toxic comments and emails, maybe this will open your eyes that you've been wrong about me from the beginning, and that there's a whole lot more to the New Testament than meets the eye, and that my only issue here is that it was never a historical deal. It was entirely spiritual from the beginning. And this is why so many of the things Jesus said have been found in much more ancient documents. It is a soup made of all the best ingredients. Give me about 3 or 4 minutes, and then check the pinned comment for all the links. Love you guys. Merry Christmas. And you got that video, Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe, coming next.